What is up, guys, and welcome back to Daily Drives. And today we present to you the 5th generation Lexus LS500. Now, before we dive in headfirst into this LS500, it is safe to say that the LS name had one of the most interesting births, so to speak, when it comes to automotive luxurious sedans. I mean, it was the Japanese automaker's biggest gamble. And I'll give you a little insight as to why. See, Toyota had a very strong foothold in the market back in the early 80s because of the oil crisis. They were developing small, compact, little economical cars for people to whiz around in. Having those big lumpy V8s just didn't seem appropriate and didn't make a lot of sense for people because it cost them too much money. However, Toyota eventually stepped back and said, well, there are brands who are manufacturing these very luxurious sedans, and well, we want a piece of the action, but how? Oh, this light decided to start working. Now, straight away, one of the issues they faced was actually a multiple of things, because first of all, America was limiting the amount of cars Japan was able to import to the United States. On top of that, Japan had a very weak currency. So considering those two factors, how do you then produce a car that's brand new from the ground up with a new engine, trying to infiltrate a market that's already been infiltrated by many other people with barely any money? Now, there was one individual who actually made this into a sensible solution, because Japan's currency was very weak. That means they can build their car at a risk, but if they sell it to a country with a very strong currency, the return of that will be huge. And that also means that they can lower the price with respect to other brands, and that could hopefully make them succeed. Dubbed the F1, or flagship one, if you'd want to make it a little bit less confusing, the engineers got to work. They went to the biggest lengths. They even went as far as traveling to other countries, trying to learn the culture of what these people want. Do they need golf bags in the back? Do they need to have comfortable seats? Do they need air-cooled seats? The list was endless, and this is how far they went to try and create this vehicle.
To help fight the corrosive effects of salt and water, every Lexus features airbag terminals plated in gold. Of course, we might have used a less expensive material, but it wasn't money we were interested in saving.
Now, finally, after having nearly spent $500 million on development, which consisted of everything. I mean, design, the technical components of the car, the interior, but the most important thing of all was its engine. So they developed, as we know it, the 1UZ, which proved to be one of the most reliable engines ever to be fitted into a car. I mean, it could run for millions of kilometers. So the key ingredients were there. They had it all. Now what they had to do is test it. They threw 450 cars through every location in the world to test different circumstances, different countries, different terrains, different temperatures, every single thing they could do to make sure that this car would perform and succeed and be a true flagship compared to its rivals. So picture the scene. Everything's ready. Car's ready, the marketing's ready, everything's set. Like, they're at the starting blocks of launching this car into the world. But then, can they really call it the Toyota? I mean, yes, it's Toyota engineers who developed the car and everything else, but this car deserves a better name. So after going to the drawing board and coming back, they finally came up with it. And they called it Lexus.
When compared to European luxury cars, the Lexus LS400 enjoys the highest customer loyalty.
Now, after having gained so much market share and the car performing incredibly well when it came to sales, other manufacturers were really stumped at what Toyota or Lexus at the time were developing. They were even buying their cars to rip them apart to check out the kind of technology they were using and finding out that they can't really repeat it. And that's the thing about Lexus, is they were never scared to change. They were always there going, if it's available and if there's new technology and if we can do new things, we'll implement it in our cars. And that was pretty much in all of their models. And that's so apparent when it comes to this one. It's entirely a different car from the exterior, And that shows especially up front with the spindle spiderweb looking grille, with these sharp 3-beam LED headlights, and the overall styling to make this look as futuristic and as sleek as possible. And that doesn't end there, because they've added subtle changes. The side mirrors, for example, that look like they're aerodynamically dreaming into the bodyline. And at the back of the car with these L motif rear lights, it becomes even more apparent that this just is a constant flow from end to end. Now, to round off this big Japanese bundle of excellence, they've sat it on these big 20-inch rims containing just the right amount of shine. But how do you move this big lump around? Well, then we get to the engine. Now, usually when we open the hood and reveal the breathing heart of any car, that would work, but in the case of this thing, it's a little difficult because everything is covered with plastic. Now, they've done this for noise reduction to make sure that the driver or passenger does not hear a single thing. However, there is another telltale sign of the engine in this car, which is the twin-turbo V6. Produces around 416 horsepower and is mounted to a 10-speed automatic gearbox. And I'm told it drives really well, but Osama will expand on that later on in this video. Now, the moment you step into the cockpit of this Lexus LS500, you are straight away swarmed with buttons and screens and so on. It feels more of a cockpit than the driver's seat, actually. I mean, starting from the left, you've got your memory seats. Underneath, you've got your window controls. Then you have HUD, which is your head-up display. Then you've got a 360 view camera, which gives you a quick overview of whatever there is around you. And you've got your traction control, which in this car, let's be honest, is not really something you need to be touching on the dashboard, which is, I mean, kind of a weird location, but at the same time, you can kind of see it makes sense, because usually with cars, it's either down there or here, everywhere where your eyes are not supposed to be pointing while driving. Whereas it's here, within arm's reach, in front of you. On the right, you have your different driving modes. So you've got Comfort, Normal, and Sport Plus. And then you have the big 12-inch infotainment screen here in the middle with your navigation and various other settings that you may so desire. Underneath, you've got the climate control, which, it being a Lexus, is almost Arctic. And then it comes down to this. You've got this little mouse pad looking control device. Now, to be very honest, I prefer the iDrive system you get in things like BMWs or Mercedes-Benzes. I feel like this might get a little bit confusing at times, but it kind of works. I just wish they just gave me a dial instead. Now, in clear sight, in front of you is a small 8-inch display screen, which, I mean, it's displaying a lot. I mean, yes, you can customize it and make sure that it shows what you want it to show, but it feels a little bit cluttered, but I guess eventually you will get used to it. Overall, it is a nice place to sit. I can imagine myself driving long distances in this car because the finish is very well made. Everything feels very premium. Everything does feel very nice. The only thing that really is a bit of a bother is this center console. Now, they've made it because you can open it one way or you can open it from the other, which is clever stuff, but it just feels a little bit wonky. And the one thing I also don't appreciate is this. You pay quite a premium for a car like this. Now, granted, there are no other luxury sedans that are this full for that price, plus minus a few options. But why not just give me like a button to close the sunroof? Why do I have to do it by hand? I mean, a little bit old school. Now, when it comes to being a Lexus owner, the chances are that you're going to be spending most of your time in the back seat, which is not a bad place to be. But at first sight, you're like, well, what have I got? A vent and a 12-volt outlet? Well, the answer is no, because what Lexus will provide you is a small table, which is tucked away here between the seats with your entire command center. So you can adjust your music, you can adjust your climate, you can set your seat, and you can deal with the shade and the lights in this entire back end of the car, and obviously adjust various other settings as you please. But it's the seating arrangement that makes it very interesting, because the moment you press seat and you go to the right side, which is the side I'm on, you can actually tell it to fold down the front chair as so, to make way for me being able to recline my seat. So you can recline it and sit and waft around in the utmost comfort. This is nice. I think more cars need this. I feel kind of bad that I now have to go back into the normal position, because soon enough Osama is going to be taking this car away from me, and it's worked very well as a small office that I've been sitting in all day. In addition to all the tech, you also get a couple of cup holders right here, and you also get a couple of USB points just there for charging your phone, and so on. So all in all, as a back seat, it does the job pretty well. Now what you also have in this car is the adaptive air suspension, and that gives you this tiny little button to raise it up at the moment you get in or out, which just makes it a little bit more comfortable. Now when it comes to comfort, obviously that will link in my mind to safety, and safety there's a lot of in this car because, I mean, again, I can't really remember all of it, but I'm going to use this blurb that Lexus has kindly given us. And this consists of the Lexus safety system, otherwise known as LSS, pre-crash safety system, lane keeping assist, automatic high beam, dynamic radar cruise control, which the little camera up front is the telltale sign, 14 airbags, if it wasn't enough, anti-lock braking system, electronic brake force distribution, brake assist, vehicle stability control, and traction control, blind spot monitor, and rear cross traffic alert, and 4-way panoramic view camera. So again, a lot of safety stuff that you would kind of expect on a car like this. And now I'm going to pass you over to my co-host Osama, who in his Arab nature is probably going to love this Lexus because he is reaching that stage in life where a Lexus might be more of a necessity than he may consider.
You might have noticed that I'm not moving yet because there are a lot of things I need to do before we set off on our drive, and that has to do with the seating position. You see, I'm not really happy with it, so I'm gonna go into the seat menu here and adjust it. So first the bottom lumbar, then the bolstering because I'm a bit thick today. Side bolstering. Okay, so I'm really comfortable, so I'm just gonna go and save the... No, that's not... Un momento. All right, now just finally the steering wheel. The steering... Oh, that's as far as it goes. Oh, and before we enter the highway, I'm gonna turn on one other feature that I have here. It's called driver seat refresh. And I'm going to turn on my massage and go maximum intensity. Oh, I'm gonna put it into Sport S Plus. Sport S and Sport S Plus, Sport S Plus. Foot on the brake, on the gas, and let's go. Whoa! And 100 in 5.1 seconds. For a car this heavy, that is very impressive. Not a fan of the V6 sound, but you know, it is what it is. And when you're driving along, just normally, you can barely hear the engine anyways. You can barely hear anything. It's so quiet in here. Okay, so I just merged on the highway, and Casper did talk about this trackpad down here, and I agree with him that it's quite difficult to use. So to use it, what I'll have to do is put on cruise control and set it to the speed limit as I am right now, and have a look around the menus. And there's an automatic concierge mode, and I'm going to turn that on, see what happens. The air conditioning is starting to wake up even more. Oh, I feel the seats are being cooled down. It's almost Arctic in here. This car gets so cold so quickly. It's unbelievable. And it's driving on its own. Get changed in here on the way to work. You know, maybe a quick nap. No, I mean, honestly, this system is great. We're going on a turn right now, and I tried to fiddle around with the steering wheel, but it was like, no, I'll take care of it. All right, you do that, Lexus. The car will stop for you if something gets close. That's how radar-guided cruise control works. Yes. And it will actually go to a full stop, and you can use it the whole way back home. But as soon as you press the brake pedal, it turns off, as you would expect. And the lane keep assist isn't as intrusive. So right now, I feel like I am driving the car, which is kind of nice. But if you don't have a chauffeur and you have a car like this, well, I mean, you just click of a button and... How's everyone doing back there? You guys good? As a Land Cruiser drives by with a straight pipe exhaust and full tint. I know he's looking back and said, that man has done well. That's another thing, the presence of this car. Everyone moves out of the way. They kind of let me drive on the left lane at lower speeds than the speed limit, which I hate when people do, but I kind of understand all the Lexus drivers now because they're probably having a massage, sleeping on the way to work. Now, another reason why you might fall asleep behind the wheel is the suspension. It's super comfortable. It irons out the road for you. It literally, you see something coming up and you think this is gonna be a good old shunt, but it isn't. It just takes it and you don't even feel it at all. And even as I come to one of these bigger humps over here, it was nothing. And the brakes are very good as well. That's a tricky thing. If it wasn't for the heads-up display, I wouldn't know how fast I was going because the screen, as Casper mentioned, is very cluttered. and I had to brake quite hard because it's so quiet in here. You have no wind noise at all. You can't feel the gear change. This 10-speed automatic is so smooth. There's none of that. Doesn't move an inch. The whole car does move more than an inch when you try and take a corner faster than you should, but that's very undignified for a luxury sedan. The steering wheel is a bit too thin for my liking. I like a thick steering wheel, especially on a car that is thick itself. And the turning radius as well. I mean, I'm not even using most of it, and it's fantastic. So driving around smaller roads in a smaller town, it will be absolutely effortless, and always have the 360 cameras to help you out that will engage automatically as soon as you approach something, and the sensors pick something up. So you don't need to fiddle around and find that camera. It will just do it for you, as it should. And if you are driving around a bumpier road, you can always also lift up the whole car. So there's just one button for that. There's no off-road mode 1, 2, 3, 4, normal 7, aerodynamic. No, forget about that. Just one little button. Oh, I don't think I can get over this. I'll just press that and get on with it. You have great visibility. The A pillars are very small. You have a huge window. You have a big window at the back that is quite hard to see out of because of the seats and the headrests in the back. Comfort is the most important thing to the passengers behind you. But this large mirror shows more of their faces than anything else, kind of letting you know that they are there in the back, so you can see them tell you what to do when you're driving this. So I left the pricing to the end because it's very important, but essentially not really. If you're looking to buy a brand new luxury sedan, you have a lot of competition, and these cars are expensive. So if you can afford one, well, a little bit here and there doesn't really make a difference. Or does it? Because this car costs around 40,000 dinars. And with that, you get a ton of kit. To get a Mercedes-Benz or a BMW or Audi or anything else, you will have to pay quite a bit more. And then you'll still be thinking that, oh, I didn't get that option, I didn't get this. With the Lexus, everything kind of works. You don't feel cheated. And after you enjoy your car for X amount of years and you want to sell it, well, you retain a lot of value, especially here in the GCC. These cars are sought after, even if it's 5 years old. So if you're smart, you'll get a Lexus. And trust me, you won't regret a second owning it, buying it, and selling it. Thank you so much for watching this episode of Daily Drives. If you enjoyed it, please smash that like button down there below, as it really helps our channel. And also let us know in the comment sections what you think of the Lexus LS500. Does it hold its value in your country as well as it does over here in the Middle East? And finally, don't forget to subscribe and hit that bell notification button so you don't miss out on any future videos. Thank you and take care.